And you're very welcome back to Northwest today. And of course, it is a new year. We're nearly, I suppose, more than halfway into January. And joining us for the first time in 2010 is Gabriel McSharry, medical herbalist and nutritionist. Good morning, Gabriel.
Good morning, Margaret.
And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to yourself, and Happy New Year to all the listeners.
Now, Gabriel, you're going to get us all nice and healthy for the new year.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult thing to do. I mean, we all have great intentions of, going out walking or exercising and doing various different things. But very, very, for people who smoke, giving up smoking, and so it can be pretty difficult.
It can, yeah. So I have a few tips here, and I know I'm very aware that, things it can be very difficult trying to implement New Year's resolutions, and it can be quite obvious to people which ones they should do, like smoking and so on. But what I would say first off is to choose one thing at a time. Some people just try everything all at once, and the body goes into a bit of a wobble. But research shows that 25% of all New Year's resolutions are broken in the first 3 weeks. So instead of making a list of your imperfections, say, and embarking on a total vice ban all at once, you should choose one thing at a time. So start with cutting out only cigarettes or coffee or alcohol or sugar for the first few weeks. And then when you've one knocked over, or when you've a good handle on that, move on to the next one. So it's a strategy that's realistic and it's achievable. And if you knock one down, it builds your confidence to progress, making success more likely. So with whatever one chooses to implement, I would say do one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm. So it's important, like for being able to achieve your goal is to give up one thing, maybe, whether it's, as you say, it's alcohol or smoking or reaching for the biscuit tin in the evening or whatever it is, and then gradually add in maybe the second thing you intended doing to help you that way. Yeah,
that's what I do, especially if you're a person who's tried it numerous times in the past to cut out whatever and you just never seem to get there. It's possible you try a few things at once, and the body is an adaptive organism, and really changing a lot of things all at once could be just very difficult. It's definitely possible. Some people can do that. But
it's all down, I suppose, willpower as well. If you've got great willpower.
Willpower is good, yeah, definitely. But I suppose a few things. One thing is alcohol. Drink a little bit less alcohol. So after the excesses of the festive season comes, the moralistic high ground of the new year, and usually, a good way to go would be to cut back on the black stuff or whatever. But just to give the liver a bit of a break, it's something that is definitely achievable by most people, and it'll kind of set the body up to be better able for, we'd say, other regimes like exercise. So exercise, in my opinion, is probably the best New Year's resolution. If you have a sedentary job, or if you're one that doesn't exercise regularly, I think above all things, it's one that you should focus on. So, from the moment you move, your heart pounds a little harder, the blood vessels loosen, and the blood pressure drops. 24 hours after movement and exercise, insulin receptor sites become more sensitive to insulin, thereby controlling blood sugar, preventing diabetes. Increased lean tissue, lean muscle, in turn cranks up your metabolic rate, and this determines how fast or slow you burn calories and stuff.
And is there any point in going on diets and giving up X, Y, and Z if you don't do a little exercise along with it?
Yes, I think so. A lot of nutritionists are saying, if you don't do exercise, there's no point with the diet. I think it's very important to do both, but you can definitely gain a lot by just diet alone. big time. Now, everyone should exercise. I'm not letting anyone off the hook. Like, really, you have no excuse unless you're immobile for whatever reason. You have a disability or age or whatever. But
that doesn't mean like that you have to do exercises that, at the end of your half hour or your hour that you're totally exhausted. I mean, a nice walk, or something light exercise. I mean, you don't have to feel like that you're worn out after it.
Yeah, a lot of people think you have to get down the gym and pump iron and go crazy on the treadmill or whatever. No, a good brisk walk in fresh air, in my opinion, is good. 30 to 60 minute walk a day. If you can get out and do that, that's a great start. And then it depends where you're at on the spectrum. Like, if you're sedentary and you don't do any exercise, then a 30-minute walk every second day, say, will be a great step forward. But then if you're someone who exercises quite regularly and you want to ramp it up, then obviously you do more excessive exercise. So it's really what you're used to. And there's no point in going from being sedentary and never exercising to going mad, like, down the gym and then going to the swimming pool and
because then you probably get a sickening off it then, and you'll think after 2 or 3 weeks,
you last a few weeks, you'll become exhausted, you'll feel unwell, you'll create a strong aversion to the gym or the exercise or whatever you took up, and by mid-February you have yourself talked out of going there, and you'll just kind of think, oh, it wasn't for me, I didn't enjoy it, and so on and so on.
And if you do choose a gym, of course they will give you your exercise plan and help you that you won't.
Yeah, as far as all the main gyms have guys there that will put you on a program if you want, and it doesn't have to be a gym or a pool. Again, if you just get out and get moving, but obviously weather sometimes doesn't permit it, and so on.
And I suppose if you're in a situation where you're in all day, it's probably good to get out and get a bit of fresh air into your lungs in the evening.
Yeah, definitely. And again, you don't have to go jogging in the dark on country roads or whatever. You can go for a good walk, and there's more to it than just the movement. If you're outside, like, the fresh air is great. It exchanges stale air in your lungs for fresh air, and that in turn oxygenates the blood, and in turn kind of rejuvenates the body. And so I have issues with some gyms that have poor ventilation and aircon, especially some with swimming pools that have heated pools that are chlorinated, and it's shown now in studies that the chlorine can outgas from the pool, and if you're inhaling that, that's not good. So that's an aside, but in general, exercise, in my opinion, should be the main one for a New Year's resolution, because all else will improve. Appetite, your digestion should improve. You should digest your food better, and so on. So it's a good basis for every other one.
Yeah, and I think when you go home from a day's work or whatever, and you sit down maybe to watch the TV or after your dinner, you just all of a sudden you feel tired. But if you sort of get up and go out for a walk, you come in and you've got this new lease of life again, this new energy. Exactly,
because again you're getting fresh air and you're moving, and it's not so much just for the physical. A lot goes on in the emotional and psychological when you go out for a walk or you exercise. You feel better. The brain secretes different neurotransmitters and hormones. It has a beneficial knock-on mood, beneficial knock-on sleep, and them in turn then have a knock-on effect on energy in general, and mood in general, and motivation in general, and so on. So
all has a knock-on effect on something.
Definitely. So I can't emphasize enough how much you should exercise, and the amount you should exercise is based on what you've been doing prior to this. But the key is it's important to do something, and Yeah, a friend of mine was on about the Wii Fit. It's a computer game indoors. Oh, I don't know as well. I don't know. Am I to that level to classify that as a good workout? But I don't know, like whatever. But I think out, fresh air, move. It's the best way to go.
Okay, so that's getting yourself, I suppose, geared to go out and do some form of exercise. But then, if you add to it, then that you've decided, all right, I'm going to eat more healthily, or I'm going to give up the cigarettes, give up the alcohol. How can you really get yourself motivated to do that?
Yeah, and this is a big thing as well, and it's back to my initial one, that maybe one at a time. People tend to, the new year is massive for weight loss and new diets and stuff, and hence the ads on the TV and all the weight loss things out there. So, when people go on a diet, the majority, I'd say maybe 85% of the diets out there work on this kind of starvation level, low-fat diet regime, which doesn't work. It's been around for a long time now. It doesn't work. It's inefficient, and it's the wrong way to go. And generally, you're going to feel weak if you implement that initially anyway. Now, if you do that along with an exercise regime, you're kind of giving a double whammy to the body, and again, it goes back. It's something you'll just give up on and develop an aversion to. And hence, I guess, the statistics that 25% of people who make New Year's resolutions break them in the first 3 weeks. So it's possibly could try a few things. Diet's very important. I would steer away from fad diets, and it's very common for people to go low fat. It's kind of like must be pre-programmed into them, but it's something I wouldn't go. I'd advise people to stay away from low fat products. They tend to be high in sugar and sugar.
Low fat products high in sugar.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because the fat is taken out. If you take the fat component out of a food that naturally has fat, it tastes crap. It tastes really bad, and so you have to jazz it up some way to make it palatable. So they tend to put a lot of sugar in these things, and sugar is really poor, And if there's one great New Year's resolution, if one was to cut back on sugar considerably, definitely take out table sugar out of the diet. So sugar in tea and on the cereal or whatever, but not just that, go a bit further, take out sweets and all processed foods that contain sugar. So that'll be a big one. And I suppose a healthy sweet side of it would be, I mentioned before, a good quality dark chocolate, maybe 70-85% cocoa. That has a little bit of sugar. Well, that's okay for a treat. A good quality raw honey, so a honey that's not heated to high temperatures. That'll be a good quality sweet snack. And obviously fruits and vegetables can be sweet as well. Carrots are very sweet. If you half a glass of carrot juice, that's a really, really sweet beverage,
Yeah, and you see, we wouldn't think of that, because you think, I'm eating a carrot, so it's going to be healthy, whether you eat it raw or cooked.
Yeah.
But you're saying there's sugar in it, so that could be part of your sugar intake?
Yeah. So what you should do is take sugar out of the diet, but the sugar you do consume should be from the healthy sources, like vegetables,
the natural sugar,
fruits, honey, and so on. Anywhere where it's surrounded by an abundance of vitamins, enzymes, minerals, and whatever. But the processed sugar, which is table sugar, is in all processed foods generally, because processed foods, again, when you process it to extend the shelf life, you kind of take out anything that's alive in food, so you kind of kill the food. And, it tastes very bad. It's to prolong the shelf life. So in order to kind of make people eat it, you have to add flavourings, colourants, preservatives, and so on. And you have a very artificial product, but generally you'll find a lot of processed foods have a lot of sugar in them.
Okay.
Read labels. That'll be a good tip. Get into the habit of reading labels of foods, because some people think, this food is like tomato ketchup, for instance. People think it's just pureed tomatoes, and it's quite benign. And tomatoes are good, and pureed tomatoes are good for your health. That's great, but tomato ketchup is very high in sugar. There's loads of sugar in there.
Right, but you see, a lot of people wouldn't think of that. I wouldn't think of that. I wouldn't think of tomato ketchup being full of sugar.
Yeah, and you'd never really think of reading the label of tomato ketchup, because you think, no, it's just tomato ketchup. There's just tomatoes in there. It's very high in sugar. So a rule of thumb in reading labels is whatever's first is the highest ingredient, and then it goes there down. You know, so the second on the list is the second highest ingredient. And if there's anything like sugar, or something you can't pronounce, or something you don't know what it is, if it's not a real food and it's up high there, I'd avoid that product, or I'd shy away from it. So I suppose as a nutritionist for years now, I'm reading labels and I know what's in it, most things, but it's something I think I'd encourage everyone to do. It'd be a very good knowledge to have, is just how to read labels. And don't get too bogged down in the nutritional panel. A lot of that is legalities and it can be quite confusing. But if you just look at the ingredients, find the ingredients. Some products have it down in the wee small print and it's hard to find, but find the ingredients, and if any kind of unhealthy food is up first, second or third and so on, well, maybe not have that food. But in general, a general rule of thumb is to eat all natural foods and try as much as possible avoid processed foods.
Processed foods, eat good, healthy, wholesome, fresh foods.
Just real foods,
Real foods, real food. Real food, as you say. Okay, now over the next week or two, we're actually going to be concentrating on helping people, I suppose, to give up smoking and tips on how. Yeah. So generally the usual things that happen at the start of the year, and if people like to text in what they'd like to us to look at, but generally smoking, maybe a good diet, weight loss is a big one. Topical things this time of year for nutrition and so on, and herbal medicines can be quite powerful as well, and we'll cover them all over the coming weeks. We'll cover them over the coming weeks. Okay, Gabriel McSharry, medical herbalist and nutritionist, thanks for joining us. And of course, you're back next week, and we'll answer all the questions that have come in, and we'll put them on our list for next week.
If I could just mention, Margaret, actually, I've moved my clinic from Strandhill. It's not Strandhill anymore. I've built a clinic in Colry, and my phone number has changed. It's now 071 91 42940. Just so people would know.
Okay, and the best of luck with your new clinic.
Thanks very much.
Okay, and Gabriel will be back with us on next Tuesday morning, and we'll get to those questions that we didn't get to today. We're back with more health and fitness for you after this break.
Sligo has WiMAX, but have you? To be honest, I think you should. Look, you can stay with Aircom and pay €25 a month for line rental, or you can get Imagine WiMAX and cut your Aircom bill in half. The broadband is better and cheaper, the calls are 50% cheaper, and they don't